Hi guys, I just wanted to give you a bit of a timeline for something that I think is really pressing and kind of came up a lot in the AFK Journey circles and communities that I've kind of been around, and that's the fact that they basically nerfed the rewards compared to launch on the seasonal rewards, or I guess in the general rewards that you're getting from clearing the content in AFK Journey right now. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, the timeline is that there were a couple posts, and as people were clearing through the seasons, there were things like no more summons from medium-sized chests, half the gems from chests, tower rewards are a complete joke, no more gems slash summons from AFK stages, and random nerf to true damage. Now, a lot of these are valid. They are true. If you look at it in game, these are things that you'll notice. However, the biggest one that I would say is probably the fact that they also kind of nerfed the noble path, and there are a couple big changes too that aren't mentioned by this Reddit post that I did also find from a YouTube comment. One of which says that from the Discord to sum up the BS. You have 11,000 less diamonds, 110 less invite letters. Legend trials give you a lot less of the EXP weapon mats, 700 less acorns, 10k less diamonds, 13 less epic invite, and of course, the chest rewards are also being nerfed a lot, and this is included, or this isn't including what they mentioned here, the noble path nerf, and everything is basically a huge nerf, and that's not even taking into consideration the fact that the noble path and some of the rewards from the noble path, or I believe from some of the other general rewards, were changed from having epic invite letters, which were definitely more free to play leaning, to the drop rate up banner, or the rate up letters, which again, and I kind of had this conversation about it in my last video, this is kind of a big nerf if you are someone that is free to play because you need more general copies of characters as opposed to wanting to specifically pull for the new character. That is kind of accentuated by the fact that right now the character on banner, Alsa, is not immediately, game breaking broken. And even if she is usable in certain cases, that isn't the same as basically the equivalent to potentially getting something like a Thorin, getting another Smokey, anything like this, or maybe even getting a Brutus that can really help out players, especially players that are kind of free to play or low spend in this game. Now, in response, and thankfully there was a comment, or I guess a post made by the designers, I'll talk with the designers season edition, that basically walked back or compensated for a lot of the changes. Now, to be clear, they announced a lot of buffs or a lot of compensation additions to the game that I can't one-for-one piece together whether or not it's going to compensate for everything that was initially addressed at launch, but there is kind of a sentiment that's also been presented, or a take that's been presented in response to the rewards that were given at launch, and I think it's worth considering, and that's something that I've heard from members of the community like Vulcan. It's ones that I've heard from my guild members and also from guild members in my server, and that's that although the reward nerf does feel bad, the expectation and kind of the initial, I guess, feeling, or I guess response to the nerf or the change in AFK rewards, whether that's in season or any of the content, is that was the expectation for the rewards and the content and the pacing of things always expected to be the same as launch? And initially, I wasn't really sure what they meant by this, but the insinuation or the conversation that they were trying to have was that it's kind of confusing for whether or not we were always supposed to have the launch level of rewards throughout the entire, pacing, or throughout the entire game. If you guys recall from pretty much any gacha game's launch, they are definitely extremely generous, and AFK Journey even more so. They gave out an absurd amount of rewards. On the whaling side, which I know is not really something that people want to hear about, the packs are absolutely ridiculous. The amount of $1 packs, $2 packs, $5 packs kind of hooked a lot of people I know in, like cousins that I know that play the game, or even some close friends of mine that began playing the game completely unassociated to me trying to get them to play the game, all started spending because of like the very captivating $1 to $5 packs. Like, a lot of these rewards are very generous, and at the beginning of the game, I think kind of inarguably the rewards that you got were absolutely incredible because they were so like geared towards giving you free pulls, or they would help you progress through the game faster. And the thing is that a conversation around it is that should they have continued to always give that? Because after the launch, you would expect that the rewards are not at the same peak level, which is kind of a valid argument. I haven't seen any gacha game in general ever maintain the same level of generosity at the beginning, mostly because there's launch events. There aren't these new events to kind of maintain that level of excitement or rewards, specifically because it's not the launch anymore. Like, there's pre-release launch, or there's pre-launch rewards, there's launch day rewards, and although there are things like events that they could have, or like, you know, I guess buffs or events that give you more rewards during the season or after the initial launch, like after the initial launch, you would expect that the level of the reward to be a little bit lower. Now, to be clear, regardless of that, you can kind of throw that out the window, but that's like a sentiment that I had heard. They already walked it back, because basically through this conversation and through this this little dev post, there's a lot to talk about. They basically started adding back a lot of the rewards. Season AFK rewards are now getting more diamonds and letters. Season legend trials are given, you know, they get more invite letters, title essence, and temporal essence. The corrupt creatures are being buffed as well, and you know, the battle drill is also being buffed, though I don't know to what extent the nerfs had occurred to the battle drill. But they're also providing more rewards to small and medium chests. Now, of course, they also addressed another big thing, which is that alongside the complaints about the rewards to or the nerfs to rewards, they also talked about the fact that they adjusted the way that certain bosses worked, and as a result, characters like Marilee and Korin aren't as good in the Dream Realm, and they were effectively nerfed. And they addressed this by saying that, and this is kind of what I had feared from trying to make and talk about this sort of change, is that the season isn't over, and there are changes or artifacts or additions to the game that would maybe compensate for the fact that characters are getting balanced. And as you could read, it says, granted blessing to all allied heroes when a battle starts, and every 20 seconds afterward increases their attack by 20 seconds for 7 seconds. Now, not to say that this would necessarily push a character like Marilee or Korin over the edge, but it is worth noting that, yeah, you know, it's early in the season, and we are saying that Marilee and Korin are being nerfed early. The response to that, or I guess the counter to that, is that they really shouldn't be nerfing characters in a game like this, or nerfing the rewards especially, but nerfing characters, I think, when we are so early into a season, I think is a little bit tough as well, because again, it doesn't feel that good when characters are nerfed to a point where it feels like you'd already experienced the power of a character or the power or the rewards of something earlier, and then you had it flipped on you, and then immediately you have like a pain, or it feels like now you aren't clearing as well. And that's basically what happened, not only with Korin and Marilee here, but also with the rewards. Now, again, I think it's a bit more difficult in Lilith's case, or specifically with AFK Journey's rewards case, because it is just the launch rewards, and after the initial launch event, it's always going to feel like the rewards are going to dip down, and maybe not to the same extent that they did in this case, but I feel like it was inevitable for people to kind of be upset with their total compensation for clearing content. But I do think that it's an even trickier situation, because this conversation about Marilee and Korin being nerfed is kind of like well, if you played a little bit longer, you'd have seen that it wasn't really that nerfed, or they were going to get buffed in another way later. And to be clear as well, something that I think people haven't talked about enough as well, is that this other artifact spell here, this fire, I think it's called Quick Blade or Switchblade, it's the one that stuns the frontmost target while also reducing their defense, does pair quite well with rather unused characters. Like, you know, if you want to pair someone like Kruger alongside the buff, then you start to pace up, and you get a really like mean lean damage dealing machine. And there's kind of no or there's not enough testing in these initial few days of the season to really comment on things like this. But it's kind of tough to justify all the hatred, or, you know, it's kind of hard to immediately doom post about like the season performance of certain characters when we haven't even really gotten around to testing all the new artifacts. It's not even been, again, a week yet, and certain pairings and certain combinations of things, bosses, new character releases, Soren isn't even out. We're not sure to what extent the artifacts and the bosses may be adjusted to kind of compensate for or make some of these artifacts stronger, or kind of the potential of these artifacts. They may even make some of these characters more OP. And again, like Lilith is mentioning here, they haven't even shown off, or we haven't even really used all these new artifact spells yet, which is fine, but they already rolled things back. They're already announcing that, again, the rewards are changed, and I think that's the biggest, L when it comes to, or I guess biggest W for the game now, even after all the changes in the nerfs. But what I do want to mention is that, again, I'm happy that they announced all these changes. They buffed things. They've announced rewards or compensation for the otherwise nerfed content. And for Marilee and Korin users, have no fear, ? They'll be effectively buffed by this dashing spell in the future. Who knows, though? This was just my initial thoughts, though. If you want to have the full post and you want to read through it, I'll link it in the comment section or in the in the description. But also there's a couple codes, which is kind of cool. And Pog, we get 10 letters. At the end of it all, though, I do think that they could probably, I guess, avoid a lot of these through better communication, which is what I hope that they end up doing. They do have a lot more conversations or dev notes than I've seen from other companies this early on. But another suggestion that I heard from Vulcan and some other community members is that if they had something that they had in AFK Arena, which is like a 1 week earlier public test realm, it would be a little bit better so that people could sniff out these changes or flag these changes, and it would be better. Or, they could just converse with us a little bit more and be more transparent about these things. But in any case, here's the code on screen as well for 10 invite letters, which is really nice. But anyways, guys, I'm happy about the changes. Maybe not so happy that we had to have the damage done already, but they're compensating for it. We're all human. We make mistakes. It's unfortunate. But final note, because I did also kind of feel the sentiment, and I do kind of also agree, it does feel like they kind of tried to see if they could get away with this, and then kind of got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and they got, they had to walk it back. Anyways, I don't think that Lilith are like overly malicious or anything like that, but it does kind of feel like a what happens if we mess around kind of situation. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. Pretty interesting first month for this game, or first couple months for this game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.